Hey guys, so in today's video we're going to be working on an Ender 3 Pro that we picked up on eBay. And this printer was part of a print farm that was taken apart, and that's how we were able to acquire it. Now, I don't have any experience with the Ender 3 Pro. This is my first time using this particular printer. Most of my experience is with the Ender 3 V2, which is essentially the same with a silent motherboard and a few other extras. So one of the things that I wanted to do to this printer immediately when I got it was to set up the belt tensioners. So I did download a couple of belt tensioners from Thingiverse. I'll link those in the description. I swapped out the parts cooling fan and fan assembly from the stock one to the minimalist fan bracket. Switched out the springs for the yellow springs, which I'm not sure the camera catches it in there, but I got the yellow springs on there along with some aluminum wheels. And we are going to be adding a CR Touch to it shortly, as soon as it arrives. Should be here today or tomorrow. It's currently on the Z limit switch. But one thing I noticed about this is that when you home this printer, it's not even remotely close to homing in the proper location. So let me show you what's going on. So I'm going to just auto home it. And let me bring you guys in close so you can see. So if you look carefully here, this thing is off the build plate. It's the the bed is too far back, which means we got to bring the Y limit switch up. But the problem is the Y limit switch is attached to a bracket in the back. And let me show you that. I'm going to spin this thing around. And what you're going to notice is that right here in the back, this Y limit switch is mounted on this bracket, and there's no adjustment to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to remove this whole bracket and replace this with a similar setup that Ender 3 V2 comes with, which is a plastic housing that holds the stepper motor, brings it closer to the X extrusion. I'm sorry, the Y-axis extrusion, and then I'm going to place the limit switch on a little 3D printed part that uses a couple of T-nuts. That way we can slide it forward and back on the extrusion. So that's the plan for today. Another thing that I noticed also is that when the printer is, and let me home it again. So another thing that I noticed is that when you move the printer all the way to the right, so the print head all the way to the right, I'm going to move the Z-axis up so I don't run into these clips here. So I'm going to move this all the way to the right. And if you can see, it stopped way short of that right edge, which means we need to change the position of this limit switch as well. So we need to bring this limit switch more to the right so that the print nozzle can go more to the right. And when we home it, it should fall right here in this left front corner instead of being off the build plate. So that's the project for today. We're gonna model it after the Ender 3 V2 housing, which is right here. So I'm gonna show you, this is the part. So this is off the Ender 3 V2, and it just bolts directly to the rear extrusion. Stepper motor gets bolted inside, and then it has a little cover. The belt fits right through this little hole here. So let's jump on OnShape and try to recreate this part as closely as possible. That way we can upgrade our Ender 3 Pro. Alright guys, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Turn on your notification bell and leave me some comments. I love the comments and do my best to get back to you as soon as I see them. Alright, let's get on with the video. We're going to start off by naming our project, if you haven't already done so. I imported this part from a previous YouTube video where I was working with Ender 3 V2 adding the E3D V6 hot end, which required a couple of extra parts. And so I'm going to reuse the lid since it's already designed, and design around the lid the enclosure for it. And I'm not going to speak through the whole design process, pointing out every detail, because the video will get very long. So I'm going to just speed up the design portion and just have some background music. If you guys want to see what I'm doing in more detail, just slow the video down and mute it. Alright guys, so here's the 3D printed part that we created in OnShape. And if you look at it, it's pretty close to the stock one. So let's go ahead and mount it on this printer and see how it works. And here's the second piece to this. So this is where we're going to mount our X limit switch, or I'm sorry, Y limit switch. That way we can have some adjustment. We can move it forward and back. All right, so let's start by shutting the printer down and unplugging it. And then I'm going to go ahead and loosen the tension in the front. And remove the belt. Next thing we need to do is to remove the bracket. And it looks like the belt feeds in between the brackets, so we're going to have to loosen it from the build plate. All right, so we got the bracket. And we're not going to need this bearing, so we don't need to worry about that one. Okay, so here's our little plastic piece for the limit switch. I'm going to go ahead and mount it in here. So I had to drill out this this hole a little bit more. All right, so we'll leave that there for now. Next thing is going to be to mount the stepper motor inside of the housing. And let's see how this thing would go. It goes like this, facing down. All right, so you want to put the plug facing down. It's going to face down the same as the screw holes that mount it to the extrusion. So there's the little channel for the holes. And the belt slides through the opening. Show you guys are sideways. Slides through the opening and just catches onto the motor like that. Looks like I'm gonna have to shorten the belt a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and mount it for now. And then lastly is going to be putting on a little motor cover. So let me grab it. All right, guys. So what I'm going to use here to try to replace this little end of this belt here. I'm just going to cut the belt off. So I'm just pulling apart this connector here. I'm going to cut this part off. All right, so now I'm going to crush this down to make it a little bit wider, and hopefully the belt will slip inside of it. And it looks like just barely. Let me widen it up on this end. Perfect. I'm just going to try to leave myself enough slack that I can pull the belt off if I have to. I'm going to try it here first. See if that's going to be good enough. All right about there is perfect. So if I had to measure this, I would say about 3/4 of an inch. So you can take off about 3/4 to an inch of belt, and you'll have enough slack. You'll have enough slack to take the belt off of the pulley. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and crimp it there, and then cut off the extra belt. I'm going to go ahead and tension it back up. All right, that looks good. Let's put the cover back on. And now let's put the bed back on. All right, I'm going to move my X limit switch up. That way I don't have to worry about it crashing into the bed, and then we'll adjust it here in a little bit. All right, so let's adjust the forward and back. That way we can get this thing working properly. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it forward a little bit. All right, so I got it all the way forward, and it looks like I have maybe about 10 millimeters, no, maybe more, 15 millimeters. So you can see down this line here. Zoom in, maybe you guys can see this better. See the end of the nozzle down there? Yeah, so that nozzle can come back a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the limit switch forward. And then I'm gonna rehome it. So I'm gonna rehome it now. All right. So now we're on the build plate. Now we're gonna move it forward, all the way forward, and see where it ends up on the back side of the build plate. That looks good. That looks good right there because the nozzle is on the build plate in the front and in the back. If you wanted to get real crazy, you can take a measurement from the nozzle to the edge of the bed and make sure that it's equal between the front and the back. But for me, it's good enough that it's on the build plate, so that's all I needed to do. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and the next thing that we're gonna do is gonna be the X limit switch. So for that, I'm gonna need to print up a part, and I'll leave all the STL files in the video description. That way, if you guys want to use these, you can. But this one I've made before, so I'm just gonna go ahead and print it, and then we'll install it on the printer. All right, guys. So here's the completed part. So just finished printing, and mounts up like this. So it's going to go right here. And there's two pieces to this. There's a little back part, and this part I tapped with I believe it's a 0.6 millimeter thread pitch by 3 millimeter bolt diameter. And how it works is the end stop is sandwiched between these two parts, and then we can move it left and right. So I'll assemble it and we'll try it out and see if it works. Start off by taking off the original end stop. So go ahead and shut off your machine. And I would unplug it just to make sure that it doesn't accidentally get turned on while you're working on it. And then it's just these Allen keys here in the front. Yours will probably have a sticker here that has a QR code. So you just peel that sticker off and then you can get to these bolts. I honestly, I think it looks better without the sticker. And then when you take off the last screw, be careful because the motor could fall out. But it's being held on by the timing belt, so it should just hang there. And what you could do after taking the last screw off is you could put one of the screws back on there just to hold it to make sure it doesn't fall off. And that right there will keep it in place. Unplug your end stop JST connector. And then here we have the part. All right, guys. So what we're gonna need for screws, replacement screws, is these are 3 millimeter by 3mm by 12. So what you want to do is put your little end piece on, and then I already tapped this piece of plastic, so it should just screw on, and it does. All right, so it bolts up just like this. And then now what you can do is you have some adjustment here with the end stop. So once you get it where you need it, just going to bolt it down. So I'm going to go ahead and install it on the motor. All right, so I'm gonna tighten this up and see where we are. I'll move it back just a little bit. I'm gonna plug the printer back in. And before I turn it on, I'm gonna roll the print head over and make sure that I'm not hitting this bracket back here, because this that lower wheel has a little bolt that sticks out that's very close to this bracket. So I just want to make sure that I'm not going to collide into that bolt. And no, it doesn't look like I am. All right, so let's try it. All right, I'm going to home the printer. All right, now I'm going to move the print head back over to the 0 position, and we'll see if there's more adjustment needed. Okay, so it looks like we're about maybe 2 millimeters off the edge. So now let's move the head over to the other side. So I'm going to set my X to 230, and we'll see where we are on the other side. All right, I'm going to put down my print head at right in the middle. So this is going to be 115. And then we'll see if we need to make any more adjustments. So I got one of these little center finder rulers. Fortunately, this one's in inches, so we'll have to make some conversions, but should be able to figure out where we need to be here. All right, so that's right where we need to be. That's spot on center of the build plate. So that's it, guys. I'll leave a link to the STL file in the video description. That way, if you guys want to use it, you can. Yeah, awesome. So I'm just going to tighten this thing up. And that's it. Guys, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Turn on your notification bell. And leave me some comments. I love reading the comments and do my best to get back to you guys as soon as possible. Until next time, take care, guys.